Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's review. We're looking at a 2013 Mercedes GL450 in the beautiful Cinnabar red metallic. It is raining, sorry, it's been raining off and on for days. We've just got a light sprinkle, so I just have to go with it. Of course, my camera has a nice umbrella over it. I don't, because people are unimportant. Technology is what matters these days. But so back to the GL. So the GL is Mercedes full-size SUV, 3-row capacity. You can get it to be pretty kind of decent off-road if you need that. But it is the largest non-commercial Mercedes that you can buy. So it's, you know, mostly V8 power, at least when this one was new. But again, your full standard complement of luxury features as well. So let's take a look. Moving around to the front, pretty standard Mercedes SUV. As you can tell, you're used to seeing them. Both this GL, the smaller ML, and GLK at the time sort of all carried a similar front fascia. This one does have the standard halogen headlights, not the available bi-xenon headlights with active cornering. We do have, I can't get them to light up, but we do have LED daytime running lights that are there on all GLs. Here in the middle of the grille, you will see the massive Mercedes star. If this isn't big enough for you, there is actually an even bigger one in the higher trim GL550. Personally, I think this is sufficient to let people know what you bought, but your taste may vary. Taking a quick look under hood at the massive 4.7 liter twin turbocharged direct injected V8 that comes with the 450 line in these. The 550 actually gets you the same engine but in a higher state of tune. Additionally, if you're a little more thrifty, there's a diesel turbo V6 model, and if you've got all the money in the world to spend and want your bus to move really fast, there is actually a 5.5 liter twin turbo V8 in the GL63 AMG model. Not a whole lot to note here. Big engine bay with a lot of V8 stuffed in it. Probably the most notable thing that I saw under here, there's actually a dipstick, which is kind of uncommon in European cars these days. I know my 2005 Mercedes E-Class didn't have a dipstick. It was all, you check the computer to see how much oil and stuff there was in it. So this is actually kind of nice to find, because you never fully trust the computer. At least I never got to where I could really fully trust it. I just kind of crossed my fingers and hoped that it was reading right and that the sensor wasn't busted or, you know, something along those lines. So I appreciate seeing a dipstick here. Otherwise, not too much to note under the engine, under the hood, just lots and lots and lots of engine. Moving around to the way back and to the reason that most people will buy something like this, space. This is actually one of the larger vehicles that you can buy, and it is the largest Euro SUV thing that you can buy on the market, unless you count Mercedes' sort of commercial grade passenger van type thing that they offer. This is definitely larger than a Land Rover LR4. It's actually pretty much the same size as a Chevy Tahoe. The space is shaped a little bit different, but this is going to be about the same interior size there, and actually gives you a little bit more space behind this third row due to its packaging. So here behind this third row, we have about 16 cubic feet of space. There is an underfloor. You could put a little bit here. Oh, hey, umbrella, handy. There is a not full-size spare tire in here, which you would kind of want to see in something like this, which is designed for potential off-roading, trailering, road trips, but it is nice to at least have a large spare here. Two little cubby holders on the side here, one of which houses the signature Mercedes first aid kit that they include in almost all their vehicles. Looking further to the side, there's a 12-volt outlet, a grocery bag hanger, just a lot of nice little things here and there. Pulling you in just a bit more, you can see over here on the side there are two buttons which will fold the third row. So the third row is fully power operated and folding, and you can see if you just do that one little thing, tons of space. There's almost 50 cubic feet of storage space, still with the second row fully up, actually. And of course those will pull back up with just a touch of a button. There's a nice handy standard on this vehicle. There's no manual folding third row seat. But putting those back down, I will run around to the front and show you fold the second row seat down. With the second row folded forward, there's actually 94 cubic feet of storage in here, which is massive. To get bigger than this, a Suburban or a stretch Escalade, stretch Navigator is going to be around 120 cubic feet of space. A minivan is going to be around 140 cubic feet of space. But this is about as big as it gets, short of getting a huge, absolute behemoth of a vehicle. Not that this is petite and dainty, but it is still a manageable size and doesn't look like a minivan. So looking in now, you can see we actually have a fairly flat load floor. It does slope up ever so slightly at the end towards the back of the front row. But yeah, just a nice wide space. It's easy. You don't have to take any of the seats out. They all just fold right flat in there. Hugely nice. The only thing that I would like to see that would make this a little bit better for carrying cargo is if the air suspension went down. You can raise the air suspension, but you can't lower it with this model. I believe that there's a couple option packages that you can get that will allow you more variability with the air suspension. But it would be nice to see. Of course, in now 6 years after this has come out, a lot of vehicles with an air suspension will have a button here to lower it. I don't expect that, but at least some adjustability within the front console would be nice. Other than that, of course, we've got a power lift gate in a vehicle like this, and I will see if I can actually take you up and show you. I do appreciate that the button for it here, A, it lets you know that you can push it again to stop it, but B, you can just push this lock button and it will lower the tailgate and lock the vehicle, so you can just walk away. You don't have to hit this and then walk around to one of the doors and hit a lock button again, which is handy. Accessing the third row is actually pretty easy. You just reach down here, pull this lever, which will fold the seat back down. It will also expose another lever here, which you pull up to flip the seat forward. And then, once you've done that, you can see that there are again these two buttons to, if you push them, to raise the rear seat up. Oh. Apparently you can only do one at a time. Then once you've done that, there's actually a nice wide pathway here to hop in. And you can see once you're in, pull that down, have someone else fold the third seat up. Since this one is already folded up, I'll slip over here and show you that I can actually, I'm 6'3" and I fit no problem. There's place for my feet to go. My knees aren't up in my chin. It's actually relatively comfortable back here. There's a cup holder on each side. There's a headrest that you can, it's hard to do it one-handed. There it goes. But you can push up the headrest so you can actually have somewhere for your head to go. But yeah, not bad. It is only, you can see there are only seat belts for two. If you really wanted to, you could probably squeeze 3 people back here, but that would be a little unsafe. So, egress, let's see. We'll do this side. I'm gonna guess, yep, oh good. So you can actually get yourself back out of here, and you can see better from here. It's I don't know if you can see that these are both on gas-assisted struts, but there is actually plenty of space for my size 12 shoe to get out of here. And thanks to these super wide doors, it's kind of hard to tell here, but from the profile of the vehicle, you can tell that these are much, much wider than regular SUV doors. And the good thing is they're even wide down here at the bottom. They're not, as I'm kicking at the air, down here at the bottom, they don't just cut way in and restrict your foot space. So overall, it's no minivan, but it is extremely easy to get in and out of the third row in this vehicle. Space in the second row is fine. It's not palatial legroom. It's no S-Class rival as far as the second row, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to get 3 rows of people comfortably without having to drive a bus. But legroom is fine. My knees don't touch the back seat. I've got a couple inches to spare here. There's plenty of foot room under the front seat. This seat back does actually recline. There's 10 adjustment positions for recline in the seat back, which is nice. This does have the rear DVD entertainment system with screens in the back of each headrest, which is nice because it doesn't restrict you from getting the optional panoramic sunroof at all. I didn't bother to use it. I actually couldn't figure out how to turn it on. I tried in the net front screen and it just kept saying DVD not available. From what I read about it, it is not the simplest thing to use. You can control it from the front seat as long as you're parked. If you're driving and need to change something, you have to do it. You can do it from back here, but that's not always so simple if you have young kids who are watching a movie and can't figure it out. But it's there, it's available. If you happen to be buying one of these used that has it, great. If not, I don't think you've missed out on a whole lot. There are dual 110 volt cigarette lighter outlets here, and this actually does have a 150 watt 3-prong plug back here under this passenger side middle row seat. So that's huge. Well, with the entertainment system, for plugging in a PlayStation or something like that. But in your day-to-day, if you've got to plug in, charge up a laptop or something like that, you're not going to be running your hair dryer on 150 watts. But it is nice that you can plug in things, not have to feel like you've got to buy a car charger adapter for everything. You can have one or two things that you just plug in right here under this back seat. There is a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders in it. I don't know if this might add 2 cup holders if this didn't have the DVD system here, down here in the center console. I would guess no, but it was possible that you could have 2 more cup holders there. The one thing that this vehicle doesn't have, so this is a dual zone climate control vehicle, 2 zones up front. There's no real controls or really even vents back here for climate control, which is would be disappointing in like a Mercedes C-Class. It's almost unacceptable in something of this size and price class that there are no vents for the 3rd row and only 2 center vents here in the back of the center console, which you can only open and close the vents. There's no temperature, there's no fan speed, there's no nothing. Even my mom's 2006 Honda Pilot had a temperature control adjustment for the 2 vents, and even that was considered subpar. In a vehicle at this price class, at what these start at, I consider that unacceptable. There is an optional 3rd zone climate control back here to where you can actually set the temperature and adjust it. I would hope it added some more vents back here, but I'm not overly optimistic. So that is probably this vehicle's biggest omission, is rear ventilation. I don't know why it was done so poorly. Hopefully, the temperatures, it's chilly today, but we're not in extreme cold or extreme heat to test the AC. Hopefully Mercedes did a better job at that than it looks like. But if you're checking one of these out and it happens to be warm weather, definitely test out that AC with someone in the 3rd row. Because I know we had that problem in my mom's Honda Pilot, with getting, if there's 6, 7, 8 people in the vehicle, getting everyone cooled down in the summer after the vehicle has been sitting in a hot parking lot. Hopefully, this would be better, but it very well may involve the front 2 people freezing themselves out to make sure that there's enough cold air in the vehicle to circulate around to everyone. Definitely not a premium experience, for sure not a luxury experience. And something to note, because I would assume that a lot of these were not equipped with that feature. Moving around to the front, space is very generous up here. We've got more of a chair-like seating position, as is typical of trucks and SUVs, rather than the more laid out close to the floor position in a car. Of course, legroom is generous. Headroom is also generous, so this does have the standard sunroof, not the optional panoramic sunroof, but I would think that the headroom space would be the same in both. You can see here the seat controls are actually on the door per Mercedes standard. But there is an additional lumbar support here in the seat, 4-way lumbar. 2-way is standard, the 4th way is optional in the Premium 1 package that this vehicle has. You can also see the memory seats, which are mirrored for the passenger seat, which is nice. So both front row occupants can have a memory seat in case you take different people around with you on a regular basis. Range of motion for the seats is actually really good. You can take this one back far enough that I can still use the pedals, but they're out there. We've also got, you can sort of see the little nub for the powered tilt and telescoping steering wheel. Along with the end of this is the optional heated steering wheel that this vehicle thankfully does have. Taking a quick look at the window sticker, which we luckily have provided here for us, some of the big numbers that stick out. So you can see a $64,000 base price. This one optioned right at 10 grand at $74,000. Fuel economy ratings of 14 city, 19 highway, which I actually find achievable and even beatable if you want to. So that's good. Not, of course, those are not great numbers, but expected in something this size. Looking at the standard and optional features, so being that this is the 450 model, we have what Mercedes chooses to call a 4.6 liter V8. It's actually 4,663 cubic centimeters, which most would round to 4.7. So it does make some confusion when you're looking at reviews of this, depending on if the reviewer just takes this number or decides to just call it a 4.7 liter twin turbo V8. Really high output numbers, 362 horsepower, 406 pound-feet, both of which are actually, are likely very low. This is definitely performs more like an over 400 horsepower vehicle, not 362 horsepower. So moving on to some things that are standard. All GLs, regardless of engine, will have that 7-speed automatic transmission, 4MATIC all-wheel drive, and Airmatic adjustable suspension. Going with some of our convenience features, that you can see every 2013 GL is going to have a sunroof, a rear view camera, Bluetooth audio and phone, which is nice, power liftgate, heated front seats, dual zone automatic climate control, which really should be a tri-zone, power front seats. Notable that 115 volt, an actual like plug outlet in there, which is nice. Moving on down, there's a lot of standard safety features, which is really good to see and expected in a Mercedes. Pre-safe, collision prevention with automated emergency braking, and a lot of other, airbags, child latch systems, things that you would expect to see in this vehicle. So what do we have that's causing what did that $10,000 extra go to? So you can see that Cinnabar red paint is $720 extra. Basically, any color on this vehicle is going to be $720. If you don't want to pay the $720, you're stuck with a non-metallic black or white, which is typical for German vehicles. So if you want one that's not one of those colors, just expect to pay. This one actually does not have leather. It does have the standard MB-Tex seating surfaces, which is a very high quality vinyl. I prefer it over leather. It's low maintenance. It's easy. It holds up well. And as you can see, this one, even at 5 years old and 75,000 miles, still looks pretty new. As far as what we do have extra, so I'll go and skip to the big one, is this Premium 1 package, PO1 package. So that at $3,500, it sort of brings this up to what you would expect to have in a vehicle this class. Power folding mirrors, navigation system with voice commands, MP3 and 6-disc CD changer, that adds lumbar and memory to the driver's seat and passenger seat, illuminated door sills, and several other little things, helpful things that aren't listed here. Going back up, this one further has the heated steering wheel, which for me would be a must-have at $225. Trailer hitch, which I think every single one of these should have, is a $550 option. Illuminated running boards, rear seat entertainment system at $2,000. These days, I would definitely say skip that and just get to iPads. At the time, it might have been a good buy, but it's a little bit expensive for how difficult it is to use. And of course, keyless go, which is going to be your ability to leave the key fob in your pocket and lock and unlock the vehicle and push button start is nice to have. Lane tracking package, which of course your blind spot monitoring and lane keep assist, and of course the mandatory almost $1,000 destination and delivery brings us to that $74,000 total. Not an exorbitant amount for a Mercedes, and B, one that is so high up the food chain. I mean, it is their largest passenger vehicle, and you could easily, even back in 2013, a V8 E-Class could cost you that much, and that's nowhere near what a base S-Class was going for. So overall, I think there's a decent amount of value here in this vehicle. Getting out of the cold and wet here for a few minutes to look at the inside of the vehicle. It is pretty standard Mercedes of their design language of about 5 years ago. Very square and rectilinear. Very high quality materials, and there's a lot of soft touch in here, high quality wood. We do get into a little bit of hard plastic down here around your knee line, and that's to be expected. But honestly, in something that is as utilitarian as this vehicle can be, it's kind of nice to see that there are some harder wear materials in here. It's not all soft, light, things that are just going to be a disaster to keep clean with a family or with hauling things around. So I'm not upset with those whatsoever. Also, this is a lot of vehicle, so to keep the price, somewhat out of the stratosphere, at least on the base models, it's nice to see a couple of those compromises that had to be made, and they were made smartly. Even like down around here, like this is soft touch, this is hard, but this is soft touch. And there's soft touch, down here around where you might slide into on cornering. So materials quality is good. Taking a look around here, of course, we've got the Mercedes seat controls that we just went over, window switches, power mirrors, of course, standard on this vehicle. Taking a look at the instrument cluster, is clean, easy to read, legible, but there is this nice full color display in here, which I actually have it set on what I always used to leave mine on in my Mercedes, the trip computer that resets automatically after a certain period of time. So with this computer, it's keeping track of how far you've been, what your fuel economy is, and crucially the time or amount of time that you've been driving. So let's say you're going on a trip, you pull in the parking lot, turn the car off. If you get back in the vehicle within 4 hours, these will still be here and they'll just keep counting. If you go more than 4 hours without getting back in the vehicle, then these will automatically reset back to 0. There is additionally one that you can leave. This one will just stay and keep counting until you manually reset it again. I appreciate this automatic one just for sort of keeping up with my day. If I'm in and out of the car a lot, you can see how long you've been in the car, how far you've gone, so you see what portion of my day did I waste in the car, and how much money did that cost me, with check your fuel economy versus your distance gone. So I appreciate that. There are several other different, well, even in here, you can see, you get your range, instantaneous consumption, odometer, and trip computer, as well as if you just want to easily, instead of, this analog readout, if you just want a quick digital miles per hour gauge. You can also check, you can pull up your if you have a navigation destination set, it'll pull that up in here. You can check your radio, your telephone conversations, driving assist features. You can set those, turn them on and off, in addition to service, and just a few other vehicle settings, it's nice to have easy access to those. How I've been doing that is this little keypad over here on the left of the steering wheel, which of course my hand's over the camera, which is just this is just how you move it and go back. On this side, we have volume controls as well as telephone buttons, and if I pull this up here, maybe we can see the key for the voice prompt. So if you push that, and you just tell the car what you want it to do. It's relatively successful. Sometimes it doesn't always recognize everything, but it's decent. Moving over here to the center stack, you know, we do have a navigation system, buttons for controlling what you want to be up on the screen are right here. But how you actually control this is actually a knob down here in the center. So, you know, it rotates, you move it up, down, side to side, and push down for select. And that sort of controls what you're doing up here. So this is done, you know, you can also, if you don't want to use these buttons here, you can just scroll up over here. But how you access the different screens, so just go here, and then you move it, you sort of click down through the levels. So now we're looking at, you know, this level down here, the presets, you can change the sound, things like that. Now we can move up here and scroll through our channels, or we can go back up here and scroll through the different options. Like we will pull up a navigation screen. So fairly straightforward. It's not the simplest to use system ever, but you know, it's just hard to go back. We've come such a long way in the past 6 years that I think this is actually perfectly serviceable. Keypad over here for, I guess, if you want to dial it on your phone, or more usefully, presets for the radio. So you've got actually 10 presets, which is good. Volume knob for the stereo, seat buttons. Heated seat buttons are right here. Ventilated seat buttons would be here if we had those. And I forget what would go here. Moving back down here, you know, we've got the knob, the back button, clear. I never did use the clear button. This is actually for to get the height for the air suspension. So if you want to make the vehicle taller, just hit this button, and then hill descent control here. If we had the on and off-road package, which includes a two-speed transfer case with a locking center differential and locking rear differential, that would be here, along with a sort of Land Rover-like controls. If you're in like snow, mud, whatever terrain you're going over, you could set that here. Temperature controls. This is one of the, in addition to these steering wheel controls, this is one of the cheaper feeling things in the cabin, is this little dial thing right here. And curiously, on this side, we've got the recirculate button. You can't sync them together because they are somewhat manual. But overall, not a big deal. Just automatic, set it and forget it. Coming back over here to our steering wheel for our secondary controls, we've got the shifter. It's somewhat like an old column shifter. It's a little bit dainty feeling in a vehicle of this size and weight. And it also relegates us to having the windshield wiper controls over here on the turn signal stalk, which is fine. The only problem comes if you've just gotten into this vehicle and been driving something else that has the windshield wipers over here. You may be driving down the road and inadvertently put yourself into neutral. Luckily, it won't let you put it into park or reverse while you're moving above a certain speed. So that's good, but once you've, I mean, if this was your vehicle, once you've used it a few times, you're used to it, but it can be a slight, scary learning curve. Additionally, over here, we've got the typical Mercedes cruise control stalk and that little nub for the moving the powered tilt and telescoping wheel. Heated steering wheel is the end of this knob here, which I'm covering myself up. So if you look, it does actually give you an indicator here. Oh, come on. There we go. A little red light comes on there. It would be nice to see that duplicated here, just to let you know that you successfully did it. I mean, you cannot see that little red light while you're driving, but it does heat up quickly. So, I mean, you get that positive feedback letting you know that it's working fairly quickly. Cup holders here, cigarette lighter. There is a little cubby under here, just if you wanted to put maybe a second pair of sunglasses or something, and this can also be covered with a nice wood-looking cover. Pull that up to access the center console bin. You get a little pull-out, like a little change tray here. Fairly deep console. Crucially, if you still have an iPhone 4, you can hook up your iPhone 4 to it, or an aux cable. I mean, most people these days would just use an aux cable, and you can probably purchase a newer cord for the newer iPhone I forget what they call it, but the 5-up or an Android cord if you really wanted to. Storage is decent. Of course, we just looked at the center console, cup holders, this little storage bin here I mentioned, a tiny little thing here for some common use items, and there are also relatively deep pockets in the doors. You can see a secondary control for the power lift gate, and also, forgot to mention in the back, the rearmost windows pop out and vent. Which is a nice feature to have to get some air flowing through there, because there's no air conditioning vents back there. Onto the drive. So no back roads or anything today. We're leaving our normal route for just some standard town and highway driving. Two big reasons for that. First big reason is all around us. 6,000 pound, 7-passenger, air suspended luxury SUV. Not exactly choice number one for corner carving. It acquits itself decently, but it's just not really what it's built for. Reason number two would be all of this rain, slippery roads, and all of that. I'm sure it would probably boost my view count. Amateur YouTube reviewer crashes friend's Mercedes into ditch has a nice, catchy headline, but not one that I want to explore anytime soon, or ever, really. So yeah, I mean, this is what this vehicle was designed for. Driving you and whatever you might have with you along in the most comfortable manner possible. And it absolutely, it's probably the best vehicle for that. Short of possibly, maybe one of the, like the minivans might do that a little bit better. But then you're left without the towing, without the performance, without the off-road capability. Quick water break. So one of the big reasons this vehicle is so good at doing what it does is it is built on a dedicated luxury SUV platform. It only shares bones with the smaller Mercedes ML and the oddball Mercedes R-Class pseudo SUV minivan thing. It's not built off of a pickup truck chassis. It's not built up, a more luxed up version of a serious off-roader, which is either of those two descriptions fit the bill for just about all of its main competitors. So that really is what sets this vehicle apart and allows it to go, in my view, this is the best vehicle that you can buy in the class. Any of the other ones are gonna have at least a big compromise in one area, and this doesn't. It's not the biggest, it doesn't have the highest tow rating. It is probably the most comfortable. But it just does it all the best. And hey, look, here we are behind another Mercedes GL450, in case you forgot what the back of one looks like. But yeah, so this, oh, sorry, I got distracted there for a second. So, platform allows this to be it's built and designed from the ground up to be exactly what it is, which is why you get a better steering in this, not super commutative, but just a good solid steering system. Basically, ride and drive, it's exactly what you would expect a big Mercedes to be. It's comparable to like an E-Class, a heavy Mercedes E-Class. It stops decently. For what it is, it handles pretty decently. It rides phenomenally well, and that's thanks to the standard air suspension. Really does a phenomenal job at absorbing any sort of road imperfections and impurities. I mean, there's been countless times this past week I've been riding over a road that I've driven before. I know that there's bumps and potholes and stuff in the road. I can see them, I know they're there, and you just don't feel any of that. Here we go. Bye, other GL. The rate at which this thing builds speed is uncanny, for considering that this is the standard powertrain. If you need to go faster, there is not one, but two bigger, one of them the same size, higher output engines. There we go, that works. which is also unique in this segment. This is the only vehicle that has a high performance option, or really, I'm leaving the option open in case there's something I'm forgetting about. I don't think any of its competitors even offer an upgrade engine at all. I think they all just, come mono spec with the drivetrain, which really is something nice that Mercedes has brought to the table here. Because, just because you need a large, capable vehicle doesn't mean you want to go fast. I mean, in my opinion, part of, luxury and having a premium vehicle is, you can buy, if you want, you can buy a faster one. I don't know why, Land Rover, Lexus, Cadillac decide you don't need that, but they did. So it's nice that Mercedes does give you that option. This one, so the GL450 twin turbo V8, 362 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. The upgrade 550, same 4.6, 4.7 liter twin turbo V8, 0 to 60, and I think it's 5.4 seconds. The batshit crazy GL63 AMG switches that out for a 5.5 liter twin turbo V8, 550 horsepower, to 0 to 60 in something like 4.5 seconds. Absolutely crazy. There is a precipitous price increase for those levels. The GL450 starts around 65. The GL550 is around 85. Granted, that does include a lot of standard equipment that's optional on the 450, so it's not just $20,000 more for the faster engine. The 63 AMG is around about 120,000, I think, and it is, a lot of that is just having the hand-built AMG engine and just saying that you have an AMG, and that includes a lot of other performance stuff, not just the engine. So yeah, if you want power, this is the SUV to get. This one itself, just the 450 for 13 and 14 with the twin turbo V8, massively powerful. Power-wise, I see no need to step up to the 550, and even if you did, you can tune this one to be at 550 levels of the GL550, not the confusingly 550 horsepower GL63. Yeah, you can tune this to get that extra 63 horsepower, and this one is making way more than 362 horsepower as it is. I mean, there's that's not the power level that you have to get 6,000 pounds moving this quickly. It takes more than that. So yeah, power is definitely a strong point for this vehicle. Fuel economy, not terrible. What is going on here? This is the middle of the day. Why is this backed up? Fuel economy is rated, as you saw, 14 city, 19 highway. I've actually been getting 15 or 16 in my around town type driving at about 20 in a quick interstate jaunt, doing about 80 miles an hour with the climate control on. So if you could slow that down, if 70 is a good speed for you, you could probably look at 22, 23 miles to the gallon on the interstate. Not good. I mean, not great, especially when you consider that it takes premium fuel, but not horrendous either, considering the size and the performance and the capability we're talking about here. If you need more than that, the diesel engine is, so we've got the GL350 Blue Tech is a 3-liter turbo diesel V6, and trade some of that performance in for a good bit more fuel economy. You could expect low 20s around town and upper 20s to even 30 on the highway, depending on your rate of travel. And even still, we're talking about a vehicle that most would not define as slow. Around town it's pretty quick, on the highway, average. So even the diesel is decently powered in this vehicle. Off-road wise, there is the option of an off-road package. It's called the on-off-road package. And curiously, that was done because back in the early to mid 2000s, when they were designing this vehicle and dreaming it up, they intended this to be a replacement for the G-Wagon. So yeah, they were going to get rid of that because it was hopelessly outdated and replace it with this. The G-Wagon kept selling, and so they just decided to have both of them, and it's really paid off for them, to the point that now they've actually fully redesigned the G-Wagon for 2019 for the first time since 1979. So yeah, now we have both, and this has actually been a really good seller for Mercedes. They sell 20 to 30,000 a year, some years 35,000, which is not bad for a vehicle this large and that can cost this much money. Okay, so let's break. There are a lot of available expensive options on this vehicle. Everything adaptive cruise control, a 360-degree surround camera, that tri-zone climate control with rear heated seats, ventilated seats, panoramic. Just the sky is the limit when you've got all of the top of the range Mercedes options here if you want them, which really does affect. Well, obviously it affected the price new. You could easily option one of these up to over 100,000, just the 450, and of course then you've got the 550 and the 63, which raise the price precipitously more. Looking at them used, currently around a 2013 GL450, excuse me, is going to be about $30,000. If you get a really low mileage one that's got a lot of those crazy options on it, you can be looking at 40 or 50,000 even. But around 30 seems to be average for decent miles, good condition, typical options, which is really a great bargain if in my opinion. If you're looking at getting like a new Toyota Highlander, Honda Pilot, which could easily be mid-40s when you put options like this, some of which this comes with on them, taking some of that money, stepping down to maybe 35,000 for a low mileage 2013 one of these, and putting the 5,000 or so aside for unexpected maintenance and repairs, this is going to be a much nicer driving vehicle than even a brand new mainstream Honda or Toyota SUV would be. So if you buy smart, definitely get one that has been taken care of. Don't just go to the closest buy here, pay here lot and get one that's got 150,000 miles on it. Get one with decent mileage, with maintenance records and history that feels like it's been well kept up, like this one has. Either if you're buying and you have the money, put a couple thousand aside for maintenance and unexpected repairs. If you're doing, on a monthly payment thing, just plan on an extra $100 a month set aside for maintenance and repairs. You'll probably find that you're not even gonna need all that 100. You're probably gonna find you've got a little bit of money saved up and you're not gonna need it all, but you're gonna need to have it. Better to have it and not have it. There's a saying with buying any used European car or luxury car, but especially a used Mercedes, there's nothing more expensive than a cheap Mercedes, and if you can't afford to buy it new, you can't afford to buy it used. I think those are a bit severe, especially that second one. You can definitely get one of these, buy smartly, plan ahead for a potential calamities that could arise, and easily have a very nice thoroughbred vehicle for the same or less than what you would pay for a new Honda, or a Chevy or something like that, if you buy smart. What is going on here? I swear. Okay. ADD Bunny strikes again. So yeah, this is definitely a top pick in the segment, even brand new today, as far as I'm concerned, and really represents an opportunity for a great buy on the used market. So thanks for tuning in today, and until next time, drive safe, buy smart. Bye.